Thank you very much for making a date on the marketplace. You're welcome back. Now, President Akufo-Addo has directed the Microfinance and Small Loans Center, MASLOC, to allocate 50% of its loans portfolio to women entrepreneurs. According to him, the move is aimed at empowering women economically. President Akufo-Addo also directed that 30% of local contracts be reserved for women. He was addressing the Ghana Women Entrepreneurship Summit, which opened in Accra this morning.
In the words of our illustrious compatriot, the former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, and I quote, "Gender equality is more than a goal in itself. It is a precondition for meeting the challenge of reducing poverty, promoting sustainable development, and building good governance," unquote. The Microfinance and Small Loans Center, MASLOC, program has in this respect been directed to disburse 50% of its loans to women engaged in small-scale farming and businesses. Government has also put in place a deliberate policy of strengthening the capacity of local businesses by ensuring that 70% of all government-funded contracts or projects are awarded to local contractors. Out of this, initially 30% of the contracts or projects are being awarded to women.
Now, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, has confirmed to Joy Business that some of their members have started increasing prices of goods on the market. The move has been influenced by the substantial increase in fuel prices over the past months and recent hikes in transport fares. Charles Aiti has the rest of the story.
According to the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, the umbrella body for small-scale traders, Dr. Joseph Oben, they are being forced to take the action because they can no longer absorb the cost that has come about because of the fuel price hikes over the past months and the recent jump in transport fares.
Apply their trades, and for food commodities, they go to Techimai, they go to Kintampo and all that. Then there is going to be a quantum leap of their prices, because the bigger quantity that you buy will go with the transportation that will go. So the ripples will be felt over there. When it comes to our side, normally is the shuttling of goods from the port to your warehouse in one big container, and then the price is one might say that 10% might be negligible, though it will also increase what we bring. So naturally, all prices will go up, depending on how much it will go. Because when people can contain, that for competition purposes, can contain some of these things. But when it goes to the petty trading, the food stuffs, operations and all that, then this is a serious something. Yeah.
Following this engagement with the president of GUTA, we actually hit the market to experience issues on the ground. And to our surprise, some of the markets have actually started increasing their prices.
Till we sit down and know how we are going to act.
So you're saying first it's going to be 7 cities, are going to want?
Now we have to sell some of them for 40 Ghana, 30 Ghana, 25.
A mini packet of tomatoes was 10 cities, but it's now 17 cities. I have increased the price of my vegetables. A bundle of kuntumwe, which was 1 cedi, has now shot to 3 cedis.
From market women to butchers here at the Malata market, it's very clear that the increase in fuel prices, which has culminated to the rise in transport fares by 10%, is going to have a negative impact on the prices of foodstuffs here in Accra. From the concerns raised, it is clear that the upward adjustment in transport fares will definitely have a chain effect on the cost of doing business as well as the cost of living in the country.
Meanwhile, government is to introduce a fresh set of measures to help deal with the impact of the rising price of petroleum products on consumers. Let's get some details from this report by George Riafe.
Susi, a meeting will be held later today to review some of these measures that they are planning to introduce. Joy Business understands government is looking at reviewing the cost components on the supply side so it could influence prices at the pumps going forward. Joy Business is also learning that government is looking at some interventions from the Bank of Ghana to try and stabilize the cedi, a development that could help keep prices in check. Government sources has, however, maintained that prices at the pumps could have been higher than what we are experiencing now if it had not been its ability to utilize proceeds from the stabilization fund to hold prices at the pumps. It has, however, ruled out introducing subsidies on petroleum products going forward.
Let's now turn our attention to aviation now. And the Ghana Airports Company Limited has awarded a 600,000 Ghana cedi contract for the renovation of toilet facilities at the Kotoka International Airport Terminal 2. This follows a viral video on the poor state of washrooms at the Terminal 2 wing of the airport. Addressing the press after a tour of some facilities at the arrival hall, the Minister of Aviation, Cecilia Dapaah, assured the place would be renovated soon.
The visit to the airport's Terminal 2 by the Aviation Minister was to ascertain the current state of some facilities at the airport as it sought to find a solution to the issue of sanitation identified in the video. After a tour of some toilet facilities, it was revealed that the current facilities, even though old, were in a fairly good shape. Cecilia Dapaah is the Minister for Aviation.
The place is going to be rehabilitated, revamped, so you'll see a very modern washroom very soon. And secondly, I took the opportunity to also talk to the meeters and the greeters. That's the term we use for them, just to find out that are people flouting that facility here. I think essentially the place is an old place, but it's clean. What we saw must be condemned by whoever should have cleaned the place. Then we also have to commend the citizen who put this thing out. I am sure the contractor or whoever has the mandate to clean this place has someone who should have cleaned the place. The person went to sleep, so I believe serious sanctions should be effected on the person.
According to the Ghana Airports Company, though, a contract has already been awarded for renovations of the toilet facilities. Gloria Apinkwa is the project manager with the Ghana Airports Company Limited.
The cost for the project is about 600,000 Ghana cedis. And for this particular contract, we have 8 different areas within the terminal which we're going to renovate the washrooms. And the airport square is one, just one of it. So after the airport square, we also have the Aleno restaurant, and then we have Latant. When you go to the next floor, that's the immigration floor. We also have a washroom there, and then the CCTV area. We have washrooms there. We're going to renovate under this contract. Then the immigration hall, there's also some washroom there, which falls under this contract.
When is this contract going to begin, and when are we likely to see it completed?
In fact, we have called the contractor to come and start works tomorrow.
Sheila Tamaklu for Joy Business.
Meanwhile, the Aviation Minister, Cecilia Dapaah, says the new Terminal 3 project at the Kotoka International Airport will be commissioned in October this year. This follows initial disclosure by Ghana Airports Company's boss, John Atifa. The facility was ready for use but will be opened after commissioning in the 3rd quarter of the year. Speaking with Joy Business, the sector minister said they are now looking at October this year.
The new terminal will have capacity to process 1,250 passengers at peak hour and is expected to handle up to 5 million passengers a year. This makes it double the capacity of the current Terminal 2. The terminal will also be equipped with a large retail and commercial area, 3 business lounges, 7 air bridges, and a fully automated baggage handling system. According to the Minister for Aviation, Cecilia Dapaah, the terminal will be commissioned in October.
We should have commissioned it. The President will do that honor, will have that do us the honor on that day, but it's been pushed to 5th October because of some schedule beyond control.
The Terminal 3 is currently completed and soon to be handed to the Ghana Airports Company Limited.
Now, away from aviation, and managers of MTN's public offer, IC Securities, have described the initial response from investors as promising, which could result in the successful share sale. MTN last week started selling about 35% of the company's shares to raise 3.4 billion cedis by the end of July.
We continue to be very excited by this transaction. The marketing efforts that MTN itself has put into it is beginning to bear some fruit. We're seeing a lot of excitement, both retail and institutional excitement, and we continue to monitor progress. But we are excited. It's less than a week, and already we're seeing significant participation. So far, we're encouraged by what we've seen so far. As we said earlier, mobile money has never ever been used to buy shares anywhere in the world. And for something that is innovative and for the first time, we're seeing significant participation and use of that channel. So we're excited. And
over 3 billion cedis in 2 months, isn't that on the high?
I think people should focus on the reasons why this is being done. The first thing is obviously, as has been said many times, this is part of a localization effort to get Ghanaians to own the shares. And therefore, the focus is really on getting as many Ghanaians as possible to own the shares. This would be the largest offer anyone has ever done in terms of IPOs in Ghana. We like the challenge. The SEC has approved that 10% of the offer amount is the level of success. But we actually are focused on getting thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of Ghanaians to buy the shares. That's really where our focus is.
Let's play on this whole success thing. I know you worked on a lot of IPOs, and you know the ins and outs of this job. But for you, as a lead sponsor or a lead broker of this offer, what would be the success for you? That at the end of the day, we got majority of Ghanaians to buy in this offer, or even hitting about 5 billion, and then you have to see how you redistribute the wealth and all the rest.
What will be success for me is for the first time every Ghanaian to feel like they heard about it and they had the opportunity to buy, number one. And number two is that they were able to understand what MTN is doing, has been doing in Ghana. And number three, that they actually buy the shares. So for me, when we look back at the end of the offer, subject to it being successful, is saying, look, we give Ghanaians an opportunity, every Ghanaian for the first time, an opportunity to buy shares in one of Ghana's leading businesses.
How are you whipping up the retail investor to get into this? Because if you look at the history of IPOs, it has always been the institutional investors, and you want to ensure that Ghanaians buy into this offer. How has it been like, or what is the strategy, or what are you doing to ensure that you're using your network that you spread across the country to ensure that the retail person, rather, for the first time, you end this IPO with another historic results about having more retail investors and even institutional investors?
Sure, we've gone through a lot of effort. We've liaised with the SEC. We've liaised with the GSE, the Ghana Stock Exchange. We've liaised with the CSD, the Central Securities Depository, ourselves and MTN, all of us trying to innovate to answer specifically the question that you are asking. What have we done? We're using mobile money. It's priced at a level where most people should be able to buy. So at 75 Ghana pesos per share, minimum of 10 shares, so 7 Ghana cedis, 50 pesos. It's still quite a bit of money, we recognize, but at least it's at a level where most people should be able to afford it. We're using all kinds of channels. So this interview is an example. You'll see it in the newspapers, you'll see it on billboards, you'll see it on the radio, not just in English. You'll hear it in Tree, you'll hear it in other languages as well, all so that the message reaches everybody. Of course, there are some institutional investors in the big cities who typically subscribe to this kind of transaction, but this time we're going well beyond that. And using advertising above and below the line are some of the ways that we are doing it.
And you're still live on the marketplace with me, Emmanuel Abuaji Wiafe. Now, the Bank of Ghana has been sustaining the amount of dollars it releases to support operations of commercial banks in the country. Joy Business understands the move has been influenced by the cedi's sustained depreciation. Now, George Wiafe has been following up on this issue and has joined me right here to tell us more. George, it's always a pleasure to have you on board. Now, tell me, what exactly or how much is the Bank of Ghana releasing, and are the banks satisfied with this move?
So last week, the Bank of Ghana had been on the market quite slow what we are picking up from industry players that is somewhere around $24 million. But the concern here is that it is not going to all the commercial banks that are putting their request. It's going to about 4 commercial banks. And the challenge for the other banks is that we need these dollars to facilitate our imports of our clients and do other transactions. And their concern is that it's not all of them that have had their requests, some have not had it at all, and this money has just been advanced to 4 commercial banks.
Does it mean that the other commercial banks don't have a problem with it?
They do, but from maybe the Bank of Ghana's own perspective, they also want to look at in terms of the exposure of these banks in terms of dollar transactions. So maybe in order of preference or maybe scale of preference, you look at a Riafe Bank before you come to a Darrow Bank and then a George Riafe Bank. Looking at your exposure, the regulator might want to give you more of the dollars compared to me. So maybe that might have influenced their decision to first consider certain banks with respect to their dollar requests before they look at other banks.
Now, it looks like the central bank has been rather slow in responding to these developments on the banking sector. Why this situation?
Again, you want to, and if you engage those who have followed developments on the market, the argument is that, yes, you're having over $7 billion as your reserves, but you want to be careful because there's money that is the risk reserve, just like having water in a bucket. Now, you should know how to use this water, because if you get to a day where there's nothing around, you struggle. So you want to be careful and ensure that this demand is backed by real quote demand of businesses, and therefore you release it as and when it matters. Otherwise, if you don't handle it well and you just push out these dollars and you realize that it wasn't actually backed by real demand but activities of speculators, you struggle. So the Bank of Ghana has been careful, we understand, to ensure that whatever that they push out onto the market actually backs real demand of businesses out there needing dollars to finance their imports and not activities of those who are betting on this development, or one would say speculators.
Now, are we supposed to, or are we expected to have any implications if this trend should continue?
For anybody who is monitoring the market, they would wish that the Bank of Ghana acts quickly as possible. But again, because we are today talking about fuel prices going up. We are an economy that we are so exposed to import. You're talking about price of goods and services going up. It's all because we import most of these goods from outside. And therefore, if you don't halt that, and I'm bringing the same volume of crude and I need more than the amount that I brought it earlier on, someone has to take care of that cost. And that is why prices are going up. Foodstuffs, you are hearing, they're going up. Petroleum prices are going up. So if you don't contain the situation, every currency experiences blips. But if you don't control the situation, then what you're going to find out is that these costs will be pushed onto consumers, and it has implication on inflation, has implication on the cost of living, and even the economy as a whole.
Thank you very much, George.
Thank you so much,
for this update. And that was my colleague, George Riafe, bringing us up to speed with some developments in the banking industry. Let's now turn our attention to mining. And Chirano Gold Mines Limited has adopted quarterly meetings with community stakeholders as a strategy to foster cordial relations with the communities within which it operates. The mining firm says this has prevented agitations between the company and surrounding communities. President Akufo-Addo at the 12th West African Mining and Power Conference lamented the poor state of communities where mining companies are conducted. Vice President and General Manager of Kinross Chirano Gold Company Limited, Adriano Sobreira, has been speaking with Live Business at the firm as the firm celebrates 25 years of operations in the country.
Kinross Chirano Gold Company Limited started operations in 1993, producing approximately 226 kilos, which is 80,000 gold equivalent ounces, but is currently producing an average of 7 tons of gold, which is 2.5 million gold equivalent ounces annually. It has a diverse portfolio of mines in Ghana, Mauritania, Brazil, Chile, Russia, and US. Management says its foremost contribution is by ensuring that over 9,000 workers job safely. For Chirano Mines, the lifespan of its operations is expected to end in 2 years. Vice President and General Manager Adriano Sobreira, at a ceremony to commemorate the 25 years of operations in Ghana, says the mine is undergoing exploration programs to extend its life beyond 2020.
How do we stay at those levels? How do we stay above 200,000 ounces at Chirano so that we can remain relevant in the Kinross stable? To the future, that helps us as Chirano to move into the future and further into the future. And provided we maintain and we improve our cost structure, which thanks to everybody here and those that are not here, we are in a position now to start looking further into the future. So that's a huge thanks from everybody for the hard work that you guys have put in to make sure that we can keep going at Chirano. The question is how long? And the important thing is that we do the right things for the right reasons. And one area is we have to make sure, as we've done in the last year, from 2017 to 18, we've got to continue dropping our costs, but we've got to do it sensibly, and we've got to do it knowing that we create a future.
One issue that often comes up in the mining sector is the relationship with local communities and the impact that the mine has on them. Mr. Subrera explains why the company has not encountered any confrontations between the local community.
Where we don't only visit the local communities at the local assemblies, or we have a CCC, which is the sort of the decision-making body within the communities and the mines. So we get together on a regular basis. Once a quarter, we have a formal meeting, and we have all the community leaders and we have all the stakeholders in this region where these communities are. Police, health, educators, everybody's there, the MC of the region, and we have a good relationship. It's very, very good. In fact, you know, at the turn of the year, I visited all three of the Paramounts. And the question is, how can we help you? What is it which we can do as a company within our own constraints? What can we do to help you? And we make sure that we then prioritize those projects and we assist where we can.
The Chirano mine, which Kinross acquired in 2010, is an important mine for the company and has consistently contributed to its overall business performance, helping maintain its status as a senior gold mining company. Prince Apia reporting.
And still within the industry, government has announced it will soon inaugurate a board to oversee the Mineral Development Fund Secretariat. When fully operational, the fund will assist mining communities to bridge their development gap. Speaking at the 90th Annual General Meeting of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Barbara Oting-Gyasi, disclosed the ministry is going through the process to get a strong board in place to implement the law backing the fund. There's more in this report. All right, so we'll bring you that story later, but still within mining firm Newmont has promised to act on findings of the Minerals Commission over the recent accident at its Ahafo mines. This was after Newmont and one of its contractors were together fined $2.5 million for an accident which happened on the mine site in April. Now, the incident resulted in the death of 6 persons. But in a statement, Newmont says it is also working to integrate lessons from the findings across its business. It also added that the AME project, however, remains suspended until Newmont and the authorities are satisfied that work can resume safely. And on that note, we draw the curtains down on this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. It's been great having you on board. My name is Emmanuel Amboaji Wiafe. Have a good afternoon.